Anyway, so he decided to turn the tables on the RNC. He's like doing a Bernie moment here, and he goes after the media at the same time. Watch this.
Move forward, but I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past. Corrupt politicians in both parties spent trillions, killed millions, made billions for themselves in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, fighting wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars that did not advance anyone's interests, adding $7 trillion to our national debt. And Joe Biden sold off our foreign policy. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, got a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. That's why we're sending $200 billion back to that same country. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multi-millionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case we've got two of them on stage.
Wow. What Vivek is doing is the good old Bernie burn. That's what that is called. This time he's doing it to the right wing. Bernie did it to the Democrats. He's tearing them a new a-hole and getting everyone to think that there's going to be actual change. Everything is flipping again, just like in the Civil War. And look how much more civil we are now in this war. Neo-Dixiecrats versus the Red Caps. The purpling of the right. That's what this is. So sit tight, right wing, because here it comes. All the shit they did to us with Bernie, they're going to do to you now. In a couple of years, you're going to have to define what a woman is, just like everybody else on the left had to. And you're going to have to be okay with pronouns just to keep your goddamn job. Just watch. They're coming for you now. See, you're at your kid's re-identifying party. Let me bring in the two Jews from Due Dissidence. I appreciate you enjoying that little soliloquy. Well, what do you have to say about him going after the RNC like that?
I think Ramaswamy is the only one running with political talent. He's I mean, I'm just talking horse race here. He's very good. The moment that you're going to be pulling up, I don't want to step on it, but going after the media, I thought that was a great way to open. I thought he made a mistake doing the heels reference because it reads as kind of bullying and unnecessarily sexist. Other than that, the overall monologue was great, going after her money that way. Very often his speeches strike me as what Trump would say if he were articulate, if he actually had the depth of knowledge to frame things in this way. Now, there may be a virtue to the fact that he does it very much more simply. Yeah, your mother should be running. Right. I mean, that works for him. It's he has a Rodney Dangerfield attack, but Ramaswamy actually is able to detail and bullet point his attacks, and they're pretty devastating. I don't know if you're going to show the Ukraine exchange.
What was the Ukraine? Tell me the Ukraine. No, I didn't see it. Tell me that one.
He ripped them apart on Ukraine. He said it's not a democracy. They have consolidated 9 newspapers down to 1 newspaper. They've outlawed political parties. And he hit them on, well, they've just shut down the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Will you condemn that?
Oh, you know what? We're getting that video. We are getting that video.
Okay, all right.
So before you describe it, let's throw it to Keaton, get his take on this.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, look, Ramaswamy definitely has skills. I think, some of the stuff to me plays a bit rehearsed. I think the heels line was actually meant more as a dig against DeSantis than Haley, because DeSantis has been getting the shit for the boots and stuff, but he didn't really deliver it right because he was aiming most of that criticism at
he didn't land
Haley. But yeah, I mean, look, the thing about him is, he is not like Bernie went after them, but Bernie was a senator. He had to maintain his position within the organization. Ramaswamy, after this campaign, if he doesn't get tapped for a job in whatever Republican administration may or may not be incoming, he has a career outside of this. So, and for the same reason why Trump was able to light the party on fire, because he didn't need them. He didn't need to exist in that ecosystem after the election was over, should he lose. If Trump could go in, shit all over the GOP, If he loses, he goes back to running his hotels, right? Same thing.
Right.
Ramaswamy comes in, he can throw a bunch of bombs around. It's not like he has to get along with these people past election day. Past election day, he goes back to his life in the private sector, and that's that.
Okay, ready? I think this is the clip now.
Swamy, let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon
Jimmy
Musk.
Dore.
We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it.
You know what? That is a great. Let me stop it there. This is the clip I wanted, I think. And why do the Republicans do this? Why do Republicans go on NBC News and have tools of the Democratic Party and just moderate their debates? Let me throw it to the fellows from Due Dissidence. Why would you? That seems nuts, right?
It seems off brand too, because they're giving Rumble the exclusive streaming rights to these, right? And that's obviously more the audience that they're probably going for. So yeah, I do think it's an odd choice. And if you look at, the moderators of these debates, these are the same moderators that would moderate general election debates. Lester Holt is very much of that mold. Welker, same thing.
I think it's a remnant of when politics was more polite and when it was less siloed than it is now. And there's probably some logic of trying to reach undecided voters who don't watch their outlets but watch NBC. I mean, there probably is some element of that. But yeah, I think Ramaswamy is probably identifying the future. Like in the next cycle, are they going to sit down with the anchors from NBC? Probably not.
Okay, he's got more to say. Let's watch it.
And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Ross.
Oh no, she's not going to answer that question.
This is how we get
She's just going to sit there with a stupid grin on her face because she's a bought tool who's pushed the biggest and dumbest conspiracy theory of my lifetime, which was the Russiagate hoax. And she pushed it, and she knows that she's going to be rewarded, just like Rachel Maddow was rewarded with a $100,000 a day contract. She's rewarded with her contract for pushing lies for the establishment. And that's why she's laughing. She's like, yeah, I know, I'm a fraud, but look how well it pays. Do you see? Look how good my hair looks, and look at my cap teeth, and look at my I'm sure my Armani suit or whatever the hell she's wearing. That's what this game is all about. Plus, she's on national television. I'm a celebrity. So that's why she's smiling. She's not smiling because it's actually funny. She's smiling because she's screwing over America for her own best interest. And she knows she's a liar, and she knows Russiagate was a lie. They all know it's a lie. That's why my friends in comedy for years I was saying, well, when the Mueller report comes out, you're going to find out this was all a hoax. When the Mueller report comes out, you're going to find out it was all a hoax. And some of the comedians I know actually have integrity and they don't have shit for brains. And they came up to me and they said, Jimmy, how did you know that? How did I know that? Because Bill Binney came on my show in 2016 and told me there was no way Russia hacked into the DNC server and this was all a hoax. That's how I know that. You know how I know that? Because they got people that think that Julian Assange is in prison because he was somehow helping the Russians beat Hillary Clinton. The reason why he's in prison is because he was revealing war crimes by the establishment. And that's what they don't want you to know. So I knew it's again, if I can figure it out, it's not that hard to figure out. And she'll never apologize. They're never going to apologize for Russiagate because they need Russiagate. They needed Russiagate so they could have their Ukraine war. That's what that was about. Fellas?
Well, she's also smiling because she knows she's never going to have to answer for any
Ever.
of that. Right? I mean,
That's
when Russell did his little intervention on Rachel Maddow, she just sat there and waited for security to take him away, and that was it. She knew she wasn't going to have to answer for it. When Max interrupted her at that speech she gave, what does she do? Does she engage? No, she just shuts down, waits for the moment to pass, and presses on. Same thing here. She just sits, waits. Yeah, the audience claps. It's a little awkward for a second. No, sir, we asked the questions here, back to the show. Nobody ever thinks about it beyond that. And that's one of the other reasons why she can sit there and laugh like that, because she'll never be challenged on it by anybody, not by the people above her at NBC, nor by her audience.
Now, if you show her face, please. Now, if you want to be laughing like that, you should come see the Jimmy Dore stand-up show, which is the day after Thanksgiving in Burbank, California, at Flappers Comedy Club, where me, Steph, and Kurt will all be telling jokes at the Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. Russ, you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I mean, these people are to journalism what grape drink is to grape juice. It's a fake pale imitation of a memory of what journalism was, and their audience will never hold them accountable, so they're secure. Why would they answer a question like that when their audience does not care? Their audience is sitting there going, "God damn it! Why are they even giving a platform to people like this on NBC?" That's their audience.
That's what their audience is saying. And for all the good points that Vivek make, he then went on to warmonger for World War III in the Middle East over Israel-Palestine.
You're right.
And so that's why you can't have. So I've come to the place where you can't cancel anybody. People are like, why don't you cancel RFK over his thing? Why don't you cancel Vivek over the? Why don't you cancel? Because they're all shit, right? They all have these horrible shit takes that are going to lead us to World War III. So what we have to do is we have to align with people. This is how politics works. I'm dumb, so I'm slow to realize this. But how politics works is that you have to align with people where you have agreement, and where you disagree, you have to call them out and try to either shame them into coming to the right side, or use your influence to get them to come to the right side, or the power of your arguments. You know, Tucker Carlson said on his show when I was on, he said that he agreed with me on Julian Assange, and he said he didn't always, but on the power of my arguments, he changed his mind. And so that's what we have to do. So should I have written off Tucker Carlson because he didn't, because he was not on board with Julian Assange? No, what I did is I engaged. I got on his platform. I got to talk to half the country, the #1 news show in the world, in America, and I got to tell people the truth about Julian Assange. And so that's very valuable. So you got to stop. So your political opponents, and you got to stop turning them into your dire enemies, and you got to be able to work. So now I can work with Vivek on his stance on the military-industrial complex and some of that stuff.
Right.
I can work with him over Russiagate. I can work with him over the corruption of the media. So there's lots of good things that he's saying, just like there's lots of good things that RFK Jr. is saying. There's lots of good things that Cornel West is saying. There's lots of good things that Jill Stein is saying, but we'll never have to work with Jill Stein because she's never going to be a real player. So, or Cornel West, because he's taken himself off of every ballot. So, you can't. I think it's counterproductive. And let me ask the fellows if you agree that way. Do you think it's counterproductive to? Now he has a odious take on Israel-Palestine, Vivek. Just as bad as it could be. And so, do you agree with my statement about you have to work with people, meet people where they are, and then try to pull them to where your position is on other things?
Well, that line, I think you quote is it the Frederick Douglass line? I'll partner with anyone to do good, no one to do bad, right?
That's right.
And that's it. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's as simple as that. Before the Israel war broke out, there was that whole thing where Code Pink, had a photo op with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then they had to apologize for it. Oh no, we're sorry. She came up to us, and she, was opportunistic. She photobombed us, whatever. It's like, what are you apologizing for? You take the win from a politician. Doesn't matter who the politician is. You take the win.
So let me ask you.
Get a win, you take it.
So let me go ahead.
Or Bernie disowned Joe Rogan's endorsement.
Yeah.
Or, semi-endorsement.
Right.
What an asswipe Bernie is. That's one guy. He's just worthless. But again, I'll work with him on something if he's never going to do anything though. That's the problem with Bernie Sanders. Now let me ask you.
Greenwald said it best. He said the left is a movement that seeks to make itself smaller.
And that's what a great, that's a great. So let me ask you this question. Now I'm being invited to go to the Rage Against the War Machine this February. And last time I was there, Ron Paul was there, Dennis Kucinich was there, Chris Hedges was there, Tulsi Gabbard spoke because she was telling the truth about Ukraine. And that was the war of the day. And now Tulsi Gabbard has completely changed her position when it comes to foreign about Israel-Palestine. Now she's on board with Joe Biden on that, right? And so should we exclude someone like that? Should we exclude someone like RFK Jr. from an anti-war rally if they're, say if they're against the Ukraine war, but they're for another war? Like how does that, how do we work that? It seems pretty, that's messy. I'm wondering what you think.
I would err on the side of no, don't cancel them. Don't shut them out of it. You know, I mean, at that first Rage Against the War Machine rally, there were people there who were more explicitly pro-Russia than others, right? You had some people who were saying, no, they don't condemn the invasion. And then there were some who said, we condemn the invasion, but it was provoked, right? So you had a kind of range of opinions there. I think if there's people there saying things you don't agree with, that's all the more reason for you to go there and get your message out. You know, I don't believe in shutting people out of these things. You know, if Tulsi's going to be there, you know, saying what she's got to say, then, you know, you show up and you say what you have to say. I would always err on the side of not pushing people out.
There's an argument to be made for that, but I can see what Jimmy's getting at. Like what if you're having a pro-choice rally? Do you have people who are for a ban only at 15 weeks speak?
Well, this time the rally is going to be a little more
solidarity?
complicated because this time you have two wars, right? So you have some people like RFK who are good on Ukraine but bad on Israel, right? And so now the war machine is functioning on all cylinders. I get how it becomes a more complicated question, but
like if
you know,
it's
like I said,
if it's if it's specifically anti-Ukraine war rally, sure, you bring everybody. If it's a general anti-war rally and you have people who like this war, don't like that war, yeah, it could definitely get complicated. What do you wind up having? People in the crowd protesting your own speakers?
Right.
Yeah, that I think that is going to that's the real tragedy of RFK. He just put out a video today saying that he'll never send soldiers into a foreign war for regime change or for oil. But I have a video, which I just dropped today, of him saying that our whole foreign policy should be based on oil, and that which is what it's been based on since World War II, and that the threat is Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the regime in Venezuela coming together and controlling 90%, and that's a direct threat to Americans' sovereignty. And that's just wrong. That's just warmongering. And so it breaks my heart to see Bobby Kennedy, who's so valuable when it came to calling out the truth about COVID, the COVID vaccine. When he's so valuable talking about environmental policies, that how the government is captured by corporations. He's so valuable in so many different ways, and then he throws away his bona fides for being the peace candidate on the Middle East and doing that saber rattling with China, Russia, Iran, and Venezuela. It would be interesting to hear if he talks about the petrodollar, because he also threw Saudi Arabia in there, which Saudi Arabia is supposed to be an ally, and they're the ones that are propping up. The only reason why the United States economy is like it is because of Saudi Arabia, meaning it's as strong as it is. If Saudi Arabia ended the petrodollar, the reserve currency of the United States, so the United States dollar is the reserve currency of the world. If that goes away, we're done. We're done. We're gonna end up like Brazil. We're halfway there, or if not more so already. But we will definitely be there and a lot quicker. And then we won't have the economic might to actually. We have the economic power to fix every problem we have in the United States. We could fix homelessness. We could fix poverty. We could fix hungriness. We could fix the education problem. There's not a problem. We could fix the water in Flint, Michigan. We could fix East Palestine. But there isn't the political will able to do so because there's nobody who has co-opted the Congress around those issues. The people who've co-opted the Congress are the military-industrial complex, Wall Street, and they're joined at the hip. The military-industrial complex in Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and fossil fuel companies. That's what all our money goes to. That's why we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. That's why we're in the Ukraine war. That's why we're able to send hundreds of billions of dollars to the most. We're paying for the health care of people in Ukraine right now when people in the United States are going bankrupt from health care. We're paying for the cops.
Israel too.
And Israel has universal health care, and we give them billions of dollars in aid. We won't give billions of dollars in aid to our own people here in the United States. Hey, we're doing stand-up comedy in Covina, California, Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving, Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, lots of places in the Southland. Omaha, Nebraska. We're going to be in Omaha. We're going to be in Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. Plus, we're going to be in Boston, the Wilbur Theater in Boston. See you there.